The Earth Coalition vessel. Harmony drifted slowly through the rings of Saturn. Its sleek white hull gleamed against the backdrop of ice and dust particles that formed the planet's famous bands. Captain Do-hyun Kim stood on the bridge, hands clasped, behind his back, watching the main view screen with careful attention. "Anything yet, Tae-young?" he asked. Tae-young Lee looked up from his station. As the ship's xenolinguistics specialist, he had been studying the strange signal they had received 3 days ago. The message had come from beyond Neptune's orbit. Using mathematics as a universal language, it was clearly not human in origin. "The signal is getting stronger, Captain," he replied. "Something is definitely approaching." Ji-woo Park, the ship's tactical officer, spoke without looking up from her console. "I have a visual now. Putting it on the main screen." The view screen changed to show a distant object moving toward them through the darkness of space. It grew larger as they watched. The vessel was unlike any human ship. Its hull appeared to be made of some kind of crystalline material that caught the distant sunlight and broke it into rainbow patterns. It was elegant and alien at once. "Is it armed?" asked Do-hyun. Ji-woo studied her readings. "I detect energy signatures that could be weapons, but they're not active. Their shields are up, but only at standard strength." "Same as ours," noted Do-hyun. "Good. They're being cautious but not aggressive." The bridge crew watched in silence as the alien ship approached. This was a historic moment, humanity's first contact with an intelligent species from beyond their solar system. The Earth Coalition had been exploring space for decades, but until now they had found only microbes and simple organisms on other planets. "They're matching our orbit," said Ji-woo. "And they're transmitting again." Tae-young's fingers moved quickly over his panel. "It's a communication request. They're using the mathematical system from before, but there's more structure now. I think they're trying to establish a language base." Do-hyun nodded. "Accept the request. Let's see what they have to say." The main screen flickered. At first, it showed only patterns and symbols, circles, squares, mathematical sequences. Then slowly, the image resolved into a figure. The alien was tall and slender, with a body that seemed partly crystalline, like its ship. It had no obvious mouth, but its eyes were large and glowed with inner light. Tae-young worked frantically at his console. "They're uploading data to us. Language constructs, vocabulary. They must have been studying our transmissions for some time. Their translation systems are impressive." After several minutes, the alien spoke. Its voice sounded like chimes in the wind, but the meaning came through the newly established translation system. "Greetings, humans of Earth Coalition vessel. We are the Valorians. We come seeking knowledge and exchange." Do-hyun stepped forward. "Greetings, Valorians. I am Captain Do-hyun Kim of the Earth Coalition. We welcome you to our solar system and offer friendship." The alien's head tilted slightly. "Friendship is a concept we understand. We propose a meeting between our peoples. We have much to learn from each other." "We would be honored," replied Do-hyun. "Would representatives from your vessel like to come aboard the Harmony, or would you prefer we visit your ship?" "We will come to you," said the alien. "This is acceptable protocol when visiting another species' territory for the first time. We will send 3 representatives." Do-hyun nodded. "We look forward to your arrival. We'll prepare a reception area and send you docking instructions." The screen went dark. The bridge was silent for a moment, then erupted in excited chatter. First contact had been made, and it seemed peaceful. It was everything they had hoped for. Do-hyun turned to his crew. "This is a historic day. Ji-woo, maintain standard alert status, friendly but cautious. Tae-young, keep working with their language systems. I want communication to be as smooth as possible. And inform the diplomatic team to prepare the conference room for our guests." "Yes, Captain," they replied in unison. 2 hours later, the Harmony's main conference room was ready. The table had been arranged with seats for both human and Valorian representatives. The Earth Coalition flag stood at one end of the room, and space had been left for any Valorian symbols or decorations they might bring. Do-hyun stood with his senior staff, waiting. Beside him were Ji-woo Park, Tae-young Lee, and several other Officers and diplomats. They all wore their formal uniforms with the Earth Coalition emblem on the chest. "Remember," said Do-hyun quietly to his team, "this first meeting will set the tone for all future relations with the Valorians. We represent not just our ship, but all of humanity." Before anyone could respond, a chime sounded, indicating that the Valorian shuttle had docked successfully. Do-hyun straightened his back and took a deep breath. "Are we ready?" he asked. His team nodded. Then, following human tradition for important events, they began to sing. It was a short, solemn melody, an ancient song of welcome and peace that had been chosen for this historic occasion. Their voices blended together in perfect harmony, filling the conference room with music. The doors slid open as they finished the last notes. 3 Valorians entered the room. They were taller than humans, with crystalline bodies that shimmered under the lights. The one in the center wore elaborate patterns on its surface, possibly indicating rank or status. "Welcome aboard the Harmony," said Do-hyun, stepping forward with his hand extended, palm open in the universal gesture of peace. The lead Valorian tilted its head, studying the humans with glowing eyes. Then it extended its own limb, mirroring Do-hyun's gesture. The crystalline appendage was cool to the touch. "I am the Overseer," it said, its voice like distant wind chimes. "We are pleased to meet your species in person." "The pleasure is ours," replied Do-hyun. "Please, join us at the table." As they moved to sit down, the Overseer spoke again. "Before we begin formal discussions, there is something I must ask." "Of course," said Do-hyun. The Overseer's eyes flickered with pulses of light. "When we entered, your group was making organized sounds together. This was not speech or communication as we understand it. What purpose did this serve?" Do-hyun smiled slightly. "We were singing. It's a human tradition for important moments. The song we chose is very old and expresses our hope for peaceful relations." The Overseer conferred briefly with the other Valorians, in their own language, a series of crystalline sounds no human throat could make. "Singing," the Overseer repeated, the word sounding strange in its chime-like voice. "This is a cultural practice?" "Yes," said Tae-young, stepping forward. "Music is a universal part of human culture. We sing to express emotions, to mark important events, to tell stories. The song we sang is hundreds of years old, passed down through generations." "Fascinating," said the Overseer. "Valorians do not have this practice. Sound is for communication of data only. Why expend energy on sounds that do not convey specific information?" Do-hyun and Tae-young exchanged glances. It was their first insight into how different the Valorian mind might be from their own. "Perhaps," said Do-hyun carefully, "as we learn more about each other, you'll come to understand why humans sing. And we'll learn more about Valorian practices that might seem equally puzzling to us." The Overseer seemed to accept this. "Yes, that is why we have come. To understand. Let us begin." As they took their seats at the table, none of the humans could have known how important their singing would become in the days ahead, or how it would ultimately save both their species. When danger arrived from the stars, the large meeting room on the Harmony buzzed with activity. Captain Do-hyun Kim stood at the central table, looking at the holographic display of Earth's outer defense grid. Red dots showed where the Krell scouts had already broken through. Their sharp angular ships moved fast and hit hard. "They broke through sectors 7 and 12, said Ji-woo Park, pointing at the display. Her face looked tired but focused. "We lost 2 defense platforms already." Do-hyun nodded, feeling the weight of command on his shoulders. Around the table stood his senior officers and 3 Valorian representatives. The aliens towered over, the humans, their crystalline bodies catching the light from above. Their faces had no expressions, just smooth surfaces with small glowing points where eyes would be on a human. "We should act quickly," said the Valorian Overseer. Its voice sounded like glass chimes in the wind. "Every minute of delay gives the Krell advantage." "Agreed," said Do-hyun. "But first we follow protocol." The captain pressed a button on his wrist device. Soft music began playing through the ship's speakers. The melody was old, from Earth's past wars. It started slow and built into something stronger. The human officers straightened their backs. Some closed their eyes, others hummed along. Do-hyun began to sing the words, and his crew joined in. Their voices merged into one sound that filled the room. The Valorians moved back slightly. Their crystal bodies vibrated with discomfort. They had seen this behavior before, but still found it strange. The overseer's eyes flickered rapidly, recording everything. When the song ended, the humans seemed different. More focused, more united. Do-hyun looked at the tactical display with clear eyes. "Ji-woo, take the harmony to these coordinates," he said, marking a spot near Saturn's rings. "We'll join with the Third Fleet there." "Yes, Captain," Ji-woo replied. Tae-young, open communication with all Earth vessels in the sector. We need to coordinate our response. The xenolinguistics specialist nodded and moved to his station. The Valorian overseer stepped forward. "Our vessels will take position here," it said, pointing to another area on the map. "We have analyzed Krell attack patterns. They will likely approach from this vector." "Good," said Do-hyun. "Let's move out." As the meeting ended, the Valorian second observer approached the overseer. They communicated in their own language, a series of crystalline sounds no human could make. "This singing, ritual delays necessary action," said the second observer. "It is inefficient." "Yes," agreed the overseer. "But I have observed something interesting. After these rituals, human performance improves by measurable amounts. Their coordination becomes more precise." "Fascinating, but irrelevant," said the second observer. "Their emotional dependence on such rituals shows weakness." The overseer did not respond. It had been studying humans longer than any other Valorian. There was something about these strange, soft creatures that did not fit neatly into Valorian understanding. 3 hours later, the first real battle began. The Krell scouts had been joined by a larger force. 27 enemy ships approached. The combined human-Valorian fleet. The black spiked vessels moved in tight formation, their weapons already glowing with energy. On the bridge of the Harmony, Do-hyun watched the enemy approach. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered. "Deploy defensive screens." As the crew prepared for combat, Ji-woo sat at her tactical station. Her hands moved quickly over the controls, calculating firing solutions and defensive positions. Softly, almost too quiet to hear, she began to hum. The same melody from the meeting room, but gentler now. The Valorian overseer stood nearby, observing. Its crystal ears picked up the quiet sound. "Why do you make these noises when planning to destroy enemy vessels?" it asked. Ji-woo looked up, surprised. She hadn't realized anyone could hear her. "It helps me focus," she said simply. "Explain," demanded the overseer. Ji-woo's hands kept moving over the controls as she thought about how to answer. "When I plan these attacks, I'm calculating how to end lives," she said. "The singing helps me remember why I'm doing it. To protect, not to destroy. It helps us remember we're still human." The overseer's eyes flickered rapidly. "You fear becoming like your enemy?" Ji-woo nodded. "Something like that." "Inefficient," stated the overseer. "Valorians do not need such reminders. We know our purpose and act accordingly." Ji-woo didn't respond. The enemy ships were close now. She finished her calculations and sent them to the weapons systems. "All ships in position," reported Tae-young. "Weapons locked." "Fire on my mark," ordered Do-hyun. Then, surprising everyone, he began to sing. Just a few words, an old battle prayer. His voice was strong and clear. The Valorians watched in confusion as several bridge crew members joined in, even as their hands continued working at their stations. "Fire," ordered Do-hyun. The Harmony shuddered as its main weapons discharged. Across the fleet, human and Valorian ships released their firepower in a coordinated attack. The Krell formation broke apart as several ships were hit. They returned fire immediately. The battle raged for almost an hour. The Harmony took damage. To its lower decks, 2 human destroyers were lost, but the Krell suffered worse. When the last enemy ship retreated, 13 Krell vessels had been destroyed. In the aftermath, the Valorian second observer approached the overseer again. "I do not understand these humans," it said. During combat, Tactical Officer Ji-woo Park showed perfect efficiency. Her targeting solutions were flawless. Yet she engaged in the emotional ritual while performing her duties. "Yes," said the overseer, and Captain Kim sang before giving the attack order. "It is contradictory," said the second observer. "How can they be emotional and efficient simultaneously? How can they be gentle and deadly at once?" The overseer's crystal form shimmered as it processed this problem. "Perhaps this contradiction is something we must study further. The humans are effective warriors despite their strange behaviors. Or because of them," suggested the third observer, who had been listening quietly. Both Valorians turned to look at their colleague. "Explain," demanded the overseer. "I have been studying human history," said the third observer. "They have always used these sound rituals before and during combat, for thousands of years. Perhaps there is purpose we do not yet understand." The overseer considered this. "Then we must learn more. If humans can be both emotional and efficient in battle, perhaps our understanding of optimal functioning is incomplete." As the Valorians discussed, the humans were already preparing for the next encounter. In the medical bay, the wounded were being treated. In engineering, repairs were underway. And throughout the ship, quiet songs could be heard. The overseer moved to a viewing portal and looked out at the stars. The Krell would return with greater numbers. The real war had only just begun. And these humans, with their strange singing and their contradictory natures, would be their allies in the fight to come. The overseer wondered if Valorians had made a mistake in their assessment. Perhaps what looked like weakness was actually strength of a kind they had never before encountered. The main Krell armada arrived 3 days later. The fleet was massive. Over 100 ships of various sizes moved as one giant shadow against the stars. Their black hulls absorbed light rather than reflected it. They looked like holes cut into space itself. Captain Do-hyun Kim stood on the bridge of the Harmony, his face calm despite the news. The holographic display showed the enemy forces clearly. They outnumbered the combined Earth-Valorian defense fleet 3-1. "Status report," he said quietly. Ji-woo Park looked up from her tactical station. "All Earth vessels report ready for combat, Captain. The Valorian fleet is in position near Saturn's outer rings." "And our ship?" "All systems operational. Weapons at full capacity. Shields at maximum." Do-hyun nodded. "Tae-young, open a channel to all Earth vessels." Tae-young Lee moved his fingers across the communication panel. "Channel open, sir. All ships connected." Do-hyun took a deep breath. "This is Captain Kim of the Harmony. The enemy force is larger than expected. But remember who we are and why we fight. For Earth. For our families. For all sentient life that wishes to live in peace." He paused, then said, "It is time. Let us sing together." Without hesitation, voices began to rise from every Earth ship. The melody was ancient, from a time when Earth had been divided by borders and wars. It spoke of peace after struggle, of dawn after darkness. Some sang in Korean, others in English, Spanish, Swahili, Mandarin. Different words, same melody, one purpose. On the bridge of the Harmony, every human joined in. Their voices blended, together, creating something stronger than any individual could produce alone. The Valorian overseer stood silently with 2 other Valorians watching. Their crystal bodies reflected the light from the bridge controls, sending small rainbows across the walls. They had seen this ritual before but still did not fully understand it. As the last notes faded, Do-hyun opened his eyes. "All ships battle formation Delta. Prepare to engage." The Earth fleet moved with perfect coordination. Ships slid into position, forming a complex 3-dimensional pattern that would allow maximum firepower while maintaining defensive coverage. The Valorian fleet joined them, their sleek crystal ships glinting in the distant sunlight. Together they faced the approaching Krell armada. "They will be in weapons range in 60 seconds, reported Ji-woo. Do-hyun nodded. All hands prepare for combat. The bridge became quiet except for the soft beeping of instruments and the low hum of the ship's engines. Each crew member focused on their task. And then something unexpected happened. Jiwoo began to sing again. Not the battle song from before, but something softer, steadier. A simple melody with no words. Soon Taeyoung joined her, his deeper voice adding strength to the sound. Other bridge crew members followed. Even as their hands moved over controls and their eyes stayed fixed on screens, they sang together. The Valorian overseer's eyes flashed, with rapid pulses of light. It stepped closer to Do-hyun. "Your crew sings during battle preparations," it said. "This is not the same as the gathering ritual." Do-hyun nodded, his eyes still on the tactical display. "This is different, more personal. It helps steady the mind." Before the overseer could respond, the tactical officer called out, "Krell vessels opening fire. Impact in 5 seconds." The first volley from the Krell fleet flashed across space. Most shots were absorbed by the defensive shields, but the entire ship shook with the impact. "Return fire," ordered Do-hyun. "All weapons." The Harmony shuddered as its main cannons discharged. Across the fleet, Earth and Valorian vessels fired in coordinated patterns. The space between the fleets lit up with energy weapons and explosive projectiles. The battle had begun. Hours passed. Ships on both sides were damaged or destroyed. The space around Saturn's rings became a graveyard of broken vessels and debris. But through it all, something strange occurred. The human ships maintained their formation with mechanical precision, yet on their bridges and at their battle stations, they continued to sing. The songs changed. Sometimes they were barely whispers. Sometimes they grew louder during intense moments, but they never stopped completely. The Valorian overseer, still on the bridge of the Harmony, observed everything. It watched as Jiwoo calculated complex, firing solutions while humming softly. It saw Do-hyun give orders with calm efficiency, while occasionally joining the melody. Most puzzling of all, it noticed that the human performance did not decrease during this behavior. It seemed to improve. "Krell, flagship approaching," announced Jiwoo. Her voice was steady despite hours of combat. They appear to be leading a final assault. The main view screen showed a massive black vessel moving toward them. It was twice the size of the Harmony, shaped like a blade cutting through space. "All remaining ships focus fire on the flagship," ordered Do-hyun. "This is their last push." The combined fleet responded immediately. Beams of energy and projectiles converged on the Krell flagship. Its shields flared brightly as they absorbed the attack. Then it returned fire, targeting the Harmony directly. The impact was devastating. The ship rocked violently. Sparks flew from control panels. Emergency lights flashed on as main power fluctuated. "Shields down to 20%, reported an engineer. "Another hit like that will break through." Do-hyun's face remained calm. He looked at Jiwoo. "Do we have a clear shot at their main weapon array?" Jiwoo studied her tactical display. Her fingers danced across the controls while she continued her steady humming. "Yes, Captain, I can target their primary weapons, but our main cannons are damaged. We would need to get closer." "How close?" "Dangerously close, sir." Do-hyun nodded. "Plot the course." The overseer stepped forward. "Captain Kim, this is not logical. The risk exceeds acceptable parameters." Do-hyun looked at the crystalline being. "Sometimes logic alone is not enough to win a battle, overseer." He turned back to the helm. "Take us in." The Harmony moved forward, directly toward the massive Krell flagship. Other Earth ships followed, providing cover fire. The Valorian vessels hesitated briefly, then joined the formation. As they approached the enemy, the singing on the bridge grew stronger. It was no longer a background sound, but a clear, unified voice. The melody was solemn and steady, almost like a heartbeat. The Krell flagship fired again. The Harmony shook, but kept moving forward. "Weapons range achieved," said Jiwoo. Her voice was calm over the sound of the song. "Fire everything we have," ordered Do-hyun. The Harmony released its full arsenal at point-blank range. The other Earth and Valorian ships did the same. The combined firepower overwhelmed the Krell flagship's shields. Explosions bloomed across its black surface. For a moment, everything was bright light and chaos. When the view cleared, the Krell flagship was breaking apart. Around it, the remaining Krell vessels began to retreat. "They're withdrawing," said Tae-young in disbelief. "All Krell ships are turning away." Cheers erupted across the bridge. The singing changed to sounds of joy and relief. Do-hyun allowed himself a small smile. The Valorian overseer stood silently, its crystal form reflecting the celebratory lights of the bridge. It had witnessed something it could not fully understand. Humans singing softly while fighting with perfect precision, showing emotion while performing logical actions, being both warriors and something else entirely. As the Krell fleet disappeared into deep space, the overseer turned to study the humans more carefully. There was something here it needed to understand. Something important. The Harmony limped back to the Earth fleet's main repair station near Mars. The battle had been won, but the cost was high. 17 human ships and 9 Valorian vessels had been destroyed. The Harmony itself had taken severe damage to its lower decks and engine systems. In the medical bay, doctors and nurses worked tirelessly to treat the wounded. Some hummed quietly as they stitched wounds or set broken bones. The soft melodies seemed to calm both the medical staff and their patients. Tae-young. Lee sat beside a bed where his friend from communications lay recovering from burns. He sang a gentle lullaby, one his mother had sung to him as a child. The injured officer smiled weakly and closed his eyes, falling into a peaceful sleep, despite his pain. From the doorway, the Valorian overseer watched silently. Its crystalline form remained perfectly still, but its glowing eyes moved from bed to bed, recording everything. After several minutes, it turned and walked away, heading toward the ship's data center. Captain Do-hyun Kim sat in his quarters, reviewing damage reports on his tablet. His uniform jacket was draped over a chair, and dark circles showed under his eyes. The battle had ended 12 hours ago, but there was still much work to be done. A chime sounded at his door. "Enter," he called. The door slid open to reveal Ji-woo Park. She too looked tired, but her eyes were alert. "Captain, the Valorian overseer has been acting strangely," she said without preamble. "It has been accessing our historical records for the past 5 hours. It also visited the medical bay and several other areas of the ship where crew members were singing." Do-hyun raised an eyebrow. "What kind of historical records?" "Military history, cultural archives, music collections. Specifically records about human warfare and singing traditions." Do-hyun set down his tablet. "Interesting. Where is the overseer now?" "In the observation lounge. Tae-young is with it." Do-hyun stood up. "Let's find out what it's looking for." The observation lounge offered a panoramic view of space through its large windows. Mars glowed red in the distance. Closer, the repair station buzzed with activity as damaged ships were tended to. The Valorian overseer stood before one of the windows. Its crystal body reflected the stars outside, making it look like a piece of the cosmos itself. Tae-young stood nearby, looking uncomfortable. Do-hyun and Ji-woo entered the lounge. Tae-young glanced at them with relief. "Captain," he said quietly, "the overseer has been asking me about human music during war, for hours now." Do-hyun nodded and approached the alien. "Overseer, I'm told you have questions about our traditions." The Valorian turned slowly. Its voice chimed like crystal glasses touching. "Yes, Captain Kim. I have been studying your history and observing your crew. There is something I must understand." It moved to a nearby table where a tablet displayed images from Earth's past. Pictures of ancient warriors, modern soldiers, and astronaut explorers filled the screen. In many images, the humans were singing, playing instruments, or moving in coordinated dances. "Your species has always combined music with conflict," said the overseer. "From ancient times to now, during the battle I watched your crew sing while they fought with perfect precision. This contradicts Valorian understanding of optimal functioning." Do-hyun sat down at the table. "How so?" Valorians separate emotion from action. We believe this makes us more efficient. But your crew maintained emotional expression through music while performing complex tasks, and your performance did not decrease. It improved. The overseer's eyes flickered rapidly. This should not be possible. Jiwoo joined them at the table. Maybe your understanding of efficiency is different from ours. The overseer turned its gaze to her. Explain. Jiwoo thought for a moment. For humans, emotions can't be fully separated from actions. We don't work that way. So instead, we've developed ways to channel our emotions productively. But why sing during battle? Asked the overseer. Why make these sounds when planning to destroy an enemy? Tae-young stepped forward. As the ship's xenolinguistics specialist, he had spent the most time trying to understand alien perspectives. May I try to explain? He asked. Jiwoo and Do-hyun nodded. Tae-young sat down across from the overseer. Throughout human history, we've had to fight wars, but unlike some species, we don't enjoy killing. It goes against our deeper nature even when necessary. So we developed ways to do what needs to be done without losing our humanity. The overseer's crystalline head tilted slightly. I do not understand. Music creates distance between our actions and our core selves, Tae-young continued. It helps us compartmentalize. When we sing during battle, we're creating an emotional space that allows us to fight effectively without being consumed by hatred or bloodlust. The overseer remained silent, processing this information. Your species confuses us. It finally stated. You engage in these songs, yet kill without hesitation when required. Explain. Tae-young leaned forward. Think of it this way. Humans throughout history have used music to process the contradictions of war. We need to fight sometimes, but we desire peace. Songs help us navigate that contradiction. We sing to remember that our enemies are not so different from us, he added softly. Because that's how we kill without hating. And when you kill without hate, you know when to stop. The observation lounge fell silent. Outside the windows, stars continued their ancient patterns. Inside, the Valorian overseer stood perfectly still, its crystal form processing this new understanding. After long moments, it spoke again. I believe I am beginning to understand. What appeared to be inefficiency is actually adaptation. Your singing is not a weakness. It is a solution to a problem my species has never faced. What problem is that? Asked Do-hyun. The problem of having strong emotions but needing to perform logical actions, replied the overseer. Valorians do not struggle with this contradiction because we do not experience emotions as you do. But this may be a limitation rather than an advantage. Jiwoo looked surprised. You see it as a limitation now? Yes, said the overseer. Your emotional capacity makes you unpredictable in battle. It allows you to take calculated risks a purely logical mind would avoid, and your songs seem to create unity among your people that exceeds our methods of coordination. The overseer turned to face all three humans. There is another reason I sought this understanding. Our analysis shows the Krell will return with greater numbers. We need to prepare. Do-hyun nodded grimly. We've thought the same thing. Our engineers are already working on repairs and improvements to our defenses. There is something else we should consider, said the overseer. Its voice had changed slightly, with a new resonance that hadn't been there before. I believe we must learn your songs. The three humans exchanged surprised glances. You want to learn to sing? Asked Tae-young incredulously. Yes, said the overseer. If music helps humans maintain their core identity while performing necessary violence, perhaps it can help Valorians better understand our allies. And perhaps it will give us an advantage the Krell cannot anticipate. Do-hyun studied the crystalline being for a long moment. Then he smiled slightly. I think that can be arranged. Outside the windows of the observation lounge, a damaged Valorian ship drifted into view, being guided to the repair station by two human vessels. They moved together in a coordinated dance against the backdrop of stars. Different in form and function, but working as one. Inside, a new kind of understanding was beginning to form between two very different species, one that might just save them all. 2 weeks passed. The combined fleet of Earth and Valorian ships grew stronger each day as repairs were completed and new vessels arrived, but everyone knew time was short. Scout ships reported that the Krell were gathering a massive force at the edge of the solar system. The next attack would be their biggest yet. In a large chamber aboard the Harmony, something unusual was happening. 30 Valorians stood in a circle with 20 humans. Captain Do-Hyun Kim stood in the center beside the Valorian overseer. The room had been chosen for its excellent acoustics. "Again from the beginning," said Do-Hyun gently. "Follow my lead." He began to sing a simple melody. The humans joined immediately, their voices blending together in practiced harmony. The Valorians hesitated, then attempted to join. Their crystalline voices produced sounds unlike anything humans had heard before. Some notes were too high, others too resonant. The combined sound was strange, but not unpleasant. They had been practicing like this for days. At first, the Valorians had approached singing as a technical exercise, trying to replicate human sounds exactly. But Tae-young had explained that perfect imitation wasn't the goal. Singing isn't about making the right sounds, he had told them. It's about expressing something together, finding unity in diversity. Slowly, the Valorians began to understand. They stopped trying to sound like humans and started developing their own unique way of singing. Their crystal bodies could create harmonics no human voice could match. When they sang together, the effect was like living wind chimes, beautiful and alien. Now, as the combined voices filled the chamber, something remarkable was happening. The two species were creating something entirely new, a harmony that had never existed before in the universe. The overseer's voice rose above the others briefly, hitting a perfect high note that made several humans gasp in surprise. Do-Hyun smiled. The overseer had become an enthusiastic student, often practicing alone during rest periods. As the song ended, Ji-woo entered the chamber. Her face was serious. "Captain," she said, "long-range sensors have detected the Krell fleet. They'll be in attack range in 2 hours." The room fell silent. Do-Hyun nodded and turned to address everyone. "This is what we've prepared for," he said calmly. "Return to your ships and prepare for battle." As the group dispersed, the Valorian overseer approached Do-Hyun. "There is something I must ask, Captain," it said. "During the coming battle, I request that Valorian ships join the human singing network." Do-Hyun raised his eyebrows. "You want to sing with us during the fight?" "Yes. We have practiced together. Now we should fight together, in the true human way." Do-Hyun considered this for a moment, then nodded. "I'll have Tae-young set up the communication channels. Your ships will be able to hear and join our battle songs." "Thank you," said the overseer. Its crystalline face couldn't smile, but its voice carried new warmth. "We have much to learn from each other." 90 minutes later, the combined fleet moved into defensive formation around Earth. Over 200 ships, human and Valorian, prepared to face the Krell Armada. The enemy had brought nearly 600 vessels this time, a dark cloud moving through space toward the blue planet. On the bridge of the Harmony, Do-Hyun looked at the tactical display with steady eyes. "Open the singing channel, Tae-young." Tae-young pressed several controls on his panel. "Channel open, Captain. All human and Valorian ships connected." Do-Hyun took a deep breath. "This is Captain Kim. Today we fight not just for Earth, but for all beings who wish to live in peace. Human and Valorian, we stand together." He paused, then continued. "Now, let us sing as one." He began a melody that had been carefully chosen. Simple enough for the Valorians to join, but powerful in its message of unity and resilience. The humans across the fleet joined immediately. Then something unprecedented happened. The Valorian voices joined the song. Their crystalline tones added depths and heights the human voices couldn't reach. The combined sound was strange and beautiful, a true merging of two vastly different species into something greater than either alone. The Krell fleet approached, weapons charged. But inside every ship of the defending fleet, human and Valorian alike, the song created a shared psychological state, a unity of purpose and action that transcended species. Krell forces entering weapons range, reported Jiwoo. Her voice was calm over the sound of the singing. All ships engage on my mark, ordered Do-hyun. The song continued around his words, never faltering. Fire. The battle erupted with blinding intensity. The Krell attack was powerful and coordinated, but the defending fleet moved with unprecedented synchronization. Human ships darted and weaved between larger Valorian vessels, each protecting the other's vulnerabilities. And through it all, the song continued. On the bridge of the Harmony, humans operated their stations with focused precision. The Valorian overseer stood beside Do-hyun, its crystal body resonating with the song. When a particularly difficult formation was needed, the overseer added its voice more strongly, hitting notes that seemed to energize the human crew. The battle raged for hours. Ships were lost on both sides, but the combined singing created a resilience no one had expected. When a human ship was damaged, Valorian vessels would move to protect it without being ordered. When Valorian shields faltered, human ships would dart in to draw enemy fire. Finally, the tide turned. The Krell commanders, faced with a defense unlike anything they had encountered before, began to withdraw their forces. Their retreat started, slowly, then became a rush as more ships broke formation and fled. As the last enemy vessels disappeared into deep space, cheers erupted across the fleet. The singing changed to sounds of victory and joy. Human and Valorian voices celebrated together. On the bridge of the Harmony, Do-hyun allowed himself to smile. Stand down from battle stations. Begin damage assessment and casualty reports. The Valorian overseer turned to face him. Captain Kim, I must convey something of great importance. What is it, overseer? The Valorian High Council has been observing our cooperation with humans. Based on the success of our combined defense, they have authorized me to propose a formal alliance between our peoples. Do-hyun's eyes widened slightly. That would be unprecedented. Valorians have never formed permanent alliances with other species. We have never encountered a species like humans before, replied the overseer. We believed your emotional nature was inefficient. We now understand it is essential. Your species has found a way to navigate the paradox of necessary violence without becoming monsters. The overseer's crystal form caught the light from the view screen, sending small rainbows across the bridge. Valorians have much to learn from humans, and perhaps we have knowledge to share in return. Do-hyun nodded. I believe Earth's leaders will be very interested in this proposal. Later, as the fleet regrouped near Earth, Do-hyun stood in the observation lounge with the overseer. Together they watched the blue planet turn slowly below them. There is one more thing I wish to understand, said the overseer. What is that? Asked Do-hyun. Now that the battle is over, will the singing stop? Do-hyun smiled. No, humans sing in peace as well as war. For celebration, for mourning, for love. Music is part of being human. The overseer was silent for a moment. Then it produced a sound like no human had heard before. A clear, pure tone that seemed to express contentment and hope at once. Then perhaps, it said, through music, Valorians can learn what it means to be more human, and humans can learn what it means to be more than human. Below them, Earth continued its ancient dance around the sun. Above them, stars promised new worlds to explore together. And between them, a song had begun that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come.